Ross Tucker joins the show, Ross Tucker podcast, of course, because during the break when I said, hey, Chris, tell me some stuff on Ross, he said, oh, big T Swift guy, big Taylor Swift guy. So kindred spirits here, Ross. I love T Swift. How you doing, man? What's your favorite track?
I am doing great, and I would say Wildest Dreams.
Yeah, it's an emotional one. It's emotional to see your connection to Team USA Soccer. And the Netflix documentary, very slept on. You get a chance to see the Netflix documentary that was at Sundance about Taylor Swift?
I did, yeah. Look, first of all, I feel like I always have to disclose this, right? She's from my hometown.
Oh, sweet.
Okay? So she's from Wyomissing, Pennsylvania. I'm good friends with her dad, and I have met her a couple times and been on her motorhome and whatever. And she's an excellent young lady, always nice to me and my wife. But that said, I really do think her music is unbelievable. Like when I'm outside with my daughters, like we put on Taylor Swift radio, whether it's like Spotify or Pandora, or whatever, right? And we are rocking it out. I mean, I just think she is an amazing songwriter, and I relate to her music. I just enjoy it. I think it's a lot better than a lot of this other stuff that people tend to like.
No, and Ross, the reason why I knew we would become friends is because I simply asked you, did you see the Netflix documentary? And you told me you hang out in her trailer. So yes, I knew that we would be kindred spirits. I did see the
documentary, and I think it's interesting. Like the whole thing where she decided to make a political tweet or whatever, I think that's very interesting. The whole dynamic behind the scenes, yeah. Of course I saw that, man. Come on.
Come on. Yeah, Brock, when you saw that, come on. Right, opening night. You downloading on Netflix. Come on. Ross Tucker joins the show. Ben Lyons in for Rich on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk a little football while we have you. Phillip Rivers thinking about coming out of retirement possibly. Your own career obviously ended, far differently. But just this idea of Phillip Rivers still thinking like he might have something left in the tank. What's that process like, you think, for him?
Well, first of all, it sort of kind of feels very Favrean for him to put that out there.
Oh.
Like here we are. It's like 2 days after the Colts quarterback has surgery that this story comes out. I mean, the timing is just very interesting. I'm not mad at him for it. I think it's crazy. Like let's flesh this out for a second, okay? Obviously, he's committed to coaching the high school football team. I'm pretty sure they have assistant coaches, and that if Phillip wanted to leave, that they could handle it. So I think he could do it. But, a couple of years ago when I was doing the Eagles, I do the Eagles preseason games every year. And a couple of years ago when they got Josh McCown would do even last year during COVID, Josh McCown would just do Zoom meetings during the week. And then after his sons played high school football Friday night, he would fly back. You get there late Friday night, be there Saturday, Sunday, do the game, and then fly out again. If you're the Colts, and let's say you think Wentz is only going to miss 2 games or 4 games, whatever it is, does it make sense to trade for Nick Foles or one of these other guys? Or does it make sense to try to work something out with Rivers where he can Zoom during the week and fly in on the weekends and play? I mean, he was on the team last year. He started every game last year. He knows the offense. I don't know. Maybe that's a better option than Jacob Eason.
No, it's a wild situation because as a professional athlete, the idea that you are comfortable with putting your career to bed and move on with the next stage of your life, and then the door opens up again, and now you're kind of in this limbo and thinking about, well, maybe I do have something left in the tank. And you're right, from the Colts' perspective, if they think Wentz is going to be back in week 2 or 4, then why, move heaven and earth to go out and get Nick Foles? I don't think Carson Wentz is coming back that soon. They're talking 12 weeks. That could be into the season and into November. If that is the case, do you think that opens them up possibly to a trade situation?
Maybe, but it's interesting because I actually interviewed Greg Cosell, who I have a lot of respect for, the NFL Films guru, for the Ross Tucker podcast, and he made the point he'd rather if he were the Colts, he'd play Jacob Eason over trading for Nick Foles. I mean, first of all, Foles has guaranteed money in each of the next 2 years, and it's not cheap, number one. Number two, he's gotten benched back-to-back years. He got benched for Gardner Minshew 2 years ago in Jacksonville after Jacksonville gave him a boatload of money. He got benched this past year for Mitch Trubisky, who's now a backup making like $1.5 million in Buffalo. I mean, it's not a great recent track record for Foles, although I will say this. Because of that guaranteed money in his contract, I give the Bears so much credit. I mean, they literally had the guy do a press conference on Monday. When's the last time a third-string quarterback did a press conference? But it's like the news comes out that Wentz needs surgery, and they're like, fire up the Nick Foles third-string press conference so Foles can say, I'm better than I was when I was a Super Bowl MVP, and I'm ready to go. I mean, it was – I actually give the Bears are desperate to get rid of that contract.
Ross, it was amazing. The only thing missing from Foles was like a giant boombox, like, "Hey Frank, come get me. I'm available. I want to play for you."
It was. I mean, seriously, like, get somebody in research to look up the last third-string quarterback press conference. Probably like Tebow 10 years ago. Like, I mean,
Easily.
Since when do third-string quarterbacks have a press conference like that? And then what's funny is like, that is not Nick Foles' personality at all. I've never heard him talk like that. He's usually like so reserved, so quiet. I mean, he was like a different guy.
Ross Tucker joins the show, host of the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Ben Lyons in for Rich on the Rich Eisen Show. Ross, as someone who over the years has been identified as someone who loves to compete, do you get jacked up and fired up seeing guys put on pads for the first time this week?
Yes, I do. It always sounds a little bit bad when I say this, but more than the camaraderie, more than even the money, like, I really honestly miss the violence. You know, like, I work out and I try to push myself. It's not the same, dude. It's not the same as running into another dude as hard as you can and knocking them over or trying to knock them over. Like, it's just such a pure, primal feeling that once it's over, it's over. Like, you can never do it again. And I miss it every day. I mean, I daydream about someone like, I don't know, pushing my wife in a bar. Not hard, but hard enough that I can, like, crush the dude. Like, something where I can legally hit somebody. Like, something where I'm legally allowed to respond with force. I don't want anything real bad to happen to anybody, but I want to be able to unload on someone. I mean, I've thought about starting a business where, like, people like you, Ben, and Brockman can line up for $100. You put a helmet and shoulder pads on, and you can just run and just lay out some dude. I don't know who the dude's going to be, but just like, I feel like we would make millions. Once you have that feeling once, you're like, honey, I got to go. Where are you going? I got to go to Ross's place again where I can go knock out a dude. I'm so mad. I had a terrible day at work. Let me go lay a couple of guys out. I'll be right back.
I mean, the first rule of Fight Club is, Ross, you don't talk about Fight Club.
Have you thought about challenging someone on TikTok? Are you calling out YouTubers in comments looking to live stream fight someone? Is that in your future?
No interest in anything that could cause any injury or pain to me because I've done that. So therein lies the rub, right, Ben? Like, I want the positive of it. I want to go lay somebody out in any capacity. Like, I don't want to injure someone, but I want to hurt. Like, I want to cause them discomfort. And I enjoy doing that. But I know what that entails. I mean, I had a back surgery. My career ended with my neck being herniated, bruised spinal cord, did my right MCL. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, that's the other thing, too, I always think about now, which is so interesting. Like, knowing what it does to your body. Like, when I see some of these guys, like, in their 12th year, and they've already made $40 million, and they sign a 1 year, like, $1.5 million contract, I'm always like, I mean, on the one hand, that's $1.5 million. Like, that's a ton of money. On the other hand, it's probably not going to make a difference in their life. They've already made a lot of money, but whatever added wear and tear to their body and whatever injury they suffer this year, that actually is going to have a big impact on the rest of their life.
Yeah, but I would imagine they realize, like you have, that you can't line up on a Sunday and run someone over. And this is the only shop in town until your business opens up where you can do that. So I think that's probably the motivation for some of those kind of guys.
I think it's a big part of it. Like, I still, to this day, okay, and if this is wrong, I don't want to be right. I do a lot of college games for CBS Sports Network. I will typically try to find a high school game. Like, I'll drive around on a Friday night, whatever college town I'm in, and I'll just look for lights. Like, I'll just look for lights. I call it find the lights. I'll look for lights. I always have to get there before the national anthem so that when they play the national anthem and everything, and I look down at the high school kids, my eyes fill up. Like, there aren't very many things in life that make you do that. And that emotion, that experience, I just think it's so special, so pure. And if I can get it without any drugs or anything, I just go drive to a high school football game on a Friday night. It's pretty good.
Ross Tucker joins the show, Ross Tucker Football Podcast, former offensive lineman. And like I said, a guy who loves to compete. I was right.
This
and
guy,
Ross,
yeah, exactly.
Us civilians were never introduced that way. I never said, oh, yeah, it was great working on the Rich Eisen Show. Chris Brockman, producer, a guy loves to compete, always there with the stats and information. You never hear us civilians described that way.
Ben, he does it. Like, every time I'm on, Chris and I will get into some, like, argument or debate. I can't remember what it was before. And then, like, Chris likes going at it. Chris
love going at it.
Chris has a little edge to him.
Oh, I love it. Massive edge, always compete. I've ruined so many family bowling outings over the years because, one goes in the gutter and I lose it. Ross,
it's romanticized when it's Michael Jordan playing ping pong at the Olympics, but it's Chris Brockman on a family weekend.
Come on.
It's not the same thing.
It's just not fun. I mean, I flip over the chessboard, like, get out of here. Ross, looking at how you're viewing training camp, what are some overarching, intense storylines that you're looking at NFL season? What's really caught your eye and got your focus?
So I will say this. I think the most intense thing right now, and I'm probably going to write about this in my column next week, so make sure you're following me at Ross Tucker NFL. I think the dynamic during the season, guys, when unvaccinated guys, and I'm not making a judgment on that, although we could, but when unvaccinated guys miss games, wow. Like, okay, so I've been in situations where during a season, you're always playing with something. And guys will get frustrated if there's a guy that's not playing through an injury that they think the guy might be able to play through. But they also understand, it's not easy to play, period, let alone if you got a sprained MCL or a broken thumb. Like, they kind of get it. And also, it's the guy's career. And, okay, like, it's his career. He doesn't want to go out there and perform at less than his best. All right, I kind of get that. I feel like, like the Vikings, right? Cousins is not vaccinated. And if you look, there are different rules for how much time you miss, whether you're a close contact or whether you test positive based on whether you're vaccinated or not. So, like, I this thing's going to come to a head, I feel like. Like, how frustrated would you be during this season if your starting quarterback or whoever, it doesn't even test positive? They're just like a close contact or something, but because they're unvaccinated, they miss 10 days, they miss like 2 games? I mean, that's not the same as having an injury you can't play through. That's like, it's willingly making a decision to not be available. And again, I'm not making a judgment. I'm just very curious to see, A, how that goes over in the locker room, but B, what about the fan base?
Yeah, exactly. That was
I
what
mean,
I was going to say.
Wentz, you can tell, by the way, which guys are vaccinated or not because when they're at a press conference, whether they're wearing a mask or not. They don't have to wear one if they're vaccinated. They do if they're not. Like, you can tell. So, I mean, I'm from outside of Philly. Like if a star player missed a couple games and people realize it's because they're not back, like, people are going to go nuts.
No, it's a great point, Ross, and it feels like it's something that's waiting for us as football fans just around the corner, and no one's talking about it yet, is that this could be the sort of defining storyline of the upcoming NFL season. And you're going to be writing about it in your new column?
Yeah, I'll be writing about it next week. That's the plan for right now. I wrote about Belichick's big miscalculation last week. Brockman didn't read it yet, but he should. Biggest miscalculation of Bill Belichick's career by far.
What, re-signing Cam Newton?
I know you hate Cam. I know that.
The thing is, I don't hate Cam.
It's
I
been
actually,
a tough day,
I actually,
Ross, for Chris
yes.
because Melo's a Laker, Cardiac Kemba's in New York.
Yeah,
it's just been a tough day for him. He doesn't know who Jadakiss is. He feels on the outside looking in.
We talked about this before the draft. Brockman just did not want to roll with Cam. Oh, no. You know what it is? Brockman did not want Jimmy G.
Yeah, I didn't want Jimmy G. Yeah, I didn't want Jimmy G.
Brockman's not a typical fan, but he is in the sense that, like, he just wanted something new. Like, he just wanted something different and new.
Yeah, I'm passionate. I've been
He
driving
didn't want to go down the
I've been having
and you got it.
Exactly.
You got Mac Jones. You got it.
I had a minivan for so long, and I just wanted a new car. It's totally fine. But, like, don't bring back the old car if you're just going to buy a new car. So, like, why bring back Cam if you were just going to draft a quarterback in the first round, which everyone knew you were going to do anyway?
I told you, Ross, the guy loves to compete.
Because the answer is they didn't know. I mean, what if Mac Jones went 3 to the Niners? Like, they didn't know who'd be available there. So Cam is like insurance, man. Like that. Cam is insurance that's not that high-priced insurance.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I tend to think it'll be Mac Jones sooner rather than later. But by the way, the miscalculation, you got to read the whole thing, but the miscalculation for Belichick wasn't just moving on from Brady. I really think, guys, and Brockman in particular, I really think he did not place enough value on the mental psyche of having Brady on your team. Like, from two standpoints. Number one, I play with a bunch of quarterbacks, right? When you're late in the game and Brady's on your team, you know you're going to win the game.
right.
Big difference between that and, like, last year with the Patriots with Cam, where they're like, man, I hope Cam can do it. I think Cam can do it. When you have Brady and immediately got transferred to the Bucs, you know you're going to win. And they didn't win every game, but those guys thought they were going to. They knew in their mind, we're going to win this game. We got Brady. We got the guy. And then the other thing is, and I've seen some Bucs players talk about this, and I experienced this when I was in New England. Brady's just such a psychopath that you don't want to make a mistake because you don't want to let him down. In other words, I think Belichick thought, we've established the culture here over 20 years. It's the Patriot way. And he's the king of negative reinforcement, and he plays the first 5 8 o'clock team meeting. He has the 5 worst plays the day before. You don't want to be on that, blah, blah, blah. But that's not the same as not wanting to let down a guy you love and respect and is an awesome guy. You don't want to let – I mean, even in practice, Brady would look at me and be like, all right, Ross, you and me, great snap first. And I was 26, 27. I started 25 games, my 5th and 6th year in the league. But when Brady said to me, like, I wanted to have the best snap of my life as a center, right? And that wasn't because of the Patriot way or because I thought Belichick would rip me. No, I didn't want to let down Tom. And I've seen all the coaches in Tampa talk about that, the players in Tampa talk about that. They lost that in New England. Tampa got that, and that, like, accountability, it's hard to put a value on that. And whatever value he put on it, he didn't give it nearly as much value as it deserves.
Ross Tucker joining the show, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. We hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Roll the windows down. Maybe play that Taylor Swift song, Run. Gives me goosebumps every time, man. Great to have you on the show.
And you know what, Ben? Last thing, okay? When people make fun of me for Taylor Swift, to your point with the TikTok thing, I always say to them, as long as you sign a waiver, I'll meet you at the playground. I'll come with a boombox playing whatever Taylor Swift song you want. You can come with your Metallica or AC/DC. I will smoke you and laugh and leave with my Taylor Swift song playing. Thank you.
Ross Tucker and a Taylor Swift versus against somebody who's a Metallica fan would be fantastic. Ross, appreciate you checking in, and I look forward to being best friends with you the rest of my life. Thanks, man.
Sounds good. See you, dude.
See you, buddy.
See you, dude. Ross Tucker Football Podcast.
The Ross Tucker Rage Room. Like, how do we get on the exclusive beta testing?
Hey, honey, what'd you do this afternoon? Well, I did the show, and then I went over to Ross's gym, and I ran over some guys, and now I picked up the groceries, and what should we cook for dinner?
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.